Going to talk about the pen tool. So you can find the pen tool right over here, and it looks like an old kind of calligraphy type of pen. And actually, if you click here, you'll see some different options for the different pen tools that we have available here in Photoshop. So if you take a look, there's a bunch of different stuff here, but don't worry, we're going to make this easy, and we're just going to focus on the pen tool itself, the basic pen tool. So if you remember from before, we've tried to use a variety of different tools to make selections. For example, the square tool. We've also had, if the drop down, we have the elliptical tool. And then we have the magic wand tool. And then last but not least, the lasso tool. Okay. And then the polygon lasso tool, it's called. Some of you may have actually tried some other tools also, but for the most part, these are the tools that we've been using so far. So as you can see, there are quite a few options out there to be able to select items. Now, for example, what would be the easiest thing to use is dependent upon the situation. So let's open up one of our project files that we're going to be working on for the pen tool assignment. So we'll go into Photoshop, Assets, and I set up a new folder called Pen Tool. And you can see these are the items that we're going to learn how to trace out with the pen tool. So let's go with the apple. So we'll hit open, and here's our apple. So I'm going to make a duplicate of that, and then I'm also going to fill the background here with the color white. So we go edit, fill, 100% white. Okay, so let's jump back to this layer. So like we said before, obviously you're not going to be able to use the circle tool here to select the apple. You have a lot of different pieces. You could also try the lasso tool, but it's way too difficult to try and trace it out. Okay, so we're just going to go down the list like we did a little while ago. The polygon tool, that might work pretty well. Let's zoom in a bit. But the problem is, one thing you need to understand, when you're using this tool, the more time you click, it's actually called the more points you'll have, and then eventually the more jagged the picture would look when you go to make a new layer out of it. So imagine how long this is going to take to sit here and trace this out. Click, 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 click. So it's going to take a while, and you're going to have a lot of clicking points. Okay, so let's move on to the next tool. Let's try the magic wand tool. We'll set it at 30%. Hit select. And as you can see, it did a pretty good job, but it didn't get everything down here. So we can keep hitting shift to add to the selection. But if you notice, you can see what happens down here. It's grabbing too much. Okay. So moving on to the next tool. Yes, you could obviously go in and do select subject, and it should do a pretty good job of making that selection. But the problem is, eventually when you start to do certain types of print work, or if you do certain types of web work, you're going to need what's called a clipping path. And a clipping path is a traced out path with the pen tool that allows you to trace this whole thing out and have full control and be able to save what's called a work path when you're done. Okay, so that's the overview for all the different tools that we use so far and why we're going to be moving on to the pen tool. So the next video will be diving right into the pen tool and how it works.